coworker hasn't clocked out in over a month, but I've been working with him every night. I didn't notice it at first. Nothing about him stood out until I checked the logs. Same name, same ID, every single shift. No clock out. His name was Daniel. We worked overnight security at a small office complex. Quiet place, just cameras, patrols, reports. And Daniel was always there before me. Didn't matter how early I came in, he'd already be sitting in the chair, watching the monitors. He barely talked, never used his phone, and he never ate, not once. He'd go into the break room, press buttons on the microwave, and just stand there. No food, no smell, trash always empty after his shift. Like he was copying what people do without understanding it. Then I noticed something with the cameras. Every time he walked past one, there'd be a skip. Not static, not a glitch, just a missing second. You'd see him approaching, then suddenly gone. No entry, no exit. I brought it up once. He didn't look at me, just said, "Cameras miss things sometimes." That didn't feel like an explanation, so I checked the logs more carefully. Same name, same ID, but the handwriting changed slightly each night. Small things, the curve of a letter, the spacing, like someone was learning how to write it. That's when I checked my own reports from earlier that week, then older ones, and at some point, my handwriting started to change too. Same pattern, like it was being copied. I didn't say anything. I just finished my shift, grabbed my stuff, and headed out. But before I left, I looked back at the monitors. Daniel was gone, chair still moving. One of the cameras flickered, just for a frame. Someone was sitting in my chair. Same posture, same uniform. It was me. I checked the logs one last time. There was a new entry, time stamped during my shift. Same ID, but the name wasn't Daniel anymore. It was mine. She knew things about me that I never told her. Not guesses, not coincidences, specific details from my life, things I had never said out loud. And the strange part was, she didn't ask me a single question the entire night. We met at a small restaurant. First date, normal setting, nothing that should feel off. But the moment we sat down, it already felt like she was waiting for me to catch up. The waiter approached, and before I could speak, she ordered for both of us. Exactly what I was about to say. I laughed it off, tried to treat it like coincidence, but small things started stacking up. I'd reach for my glass, and it was already slightly closer to me. I'd begin a sentence, and she'd finish it with the exact wording I was thinking. Not similar, identical. Halfway through the meal, she paused, looked at me, and said, "You still take your coffee the same way, right?" I hadn't ordered coffee. I hadn't mentioned it at all. I just stared at her, trying to understand how she knew that. She didn't react to my expression. No clarification, no follow-up, just calm. That's when I decided to test her. I told her I had started a new job, different hours, different location. She nodded, smiled slightly, and said, "That makes sense." Like she already knew I was lying. The rest of the date felt measured, not awkward, not uncomfortable, just controlled. Like every pause, every response had already been accounted for. When we finished and walked outside, she hugged me and said, "Text me when you get home." I never gave her my number. I went home that night and checked my phone. Unknown number. One message waiting. You didn't text me. I froze. Then I stood up and checked the locks again. Front door locked. Back door locked. Windows all locked. A second message came through. You should check the ones you don't usually think about. I didn't realize my neighbor only came out at night until I noticed his lights were never on during the day. At first, that seemed normal. People work, people sleep in, people keep odd schedules. But his place didn't just feel quiet, it felt inactive. No morning movement, no deliveries, no car leaving, just closed blinds and silence. Then, around 10 p.m., the porch light would turn on, always the same time, and a few seconds later, the front door would open. Not quickly, not hesitantly, just controlled, like someone stepping into a routine they'd done hundreds of times. I started noticing small patterns. He never looked around casually. When he stepped outside, his eyes went straight forward, then briefly toward my house. Not a glance, a check. One night, I was outside when he came out. We made eye contact. He didn't acknowledge me, didn't wave. He just stood there, still, for a moment longer than necessary. Then he went back inside. The next morning, I asked another neighbor if they'd seen him. They paused, then said they weren't sure anyone lived there at all. That didn't make sense. I'd seen him multiple times. So that night, I stayed up later. Around 10 p.m., the porch light came on again. I watched from my window this time. The door opened, and he stepped out, carrying something small in his hand. I couldn't make it out at first. He walked slowly across the yard, stopped at the edge, and looked directly at my house. Not casually, directly. Then he raised the object slightly. It looked like a phone, or maybe a small camera. The porch light behind him flickered once, then went out. And in that moment, I realized something didn't match. When the light went off, his silhouette didn't disappear. It stayed, as if the person standing there wasn't dependent on the light at all. I stepped back from the window. A few seconds later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. You shouldn't watch me from that window. I looked back outside. His porch light was back on. The front door was closed. No one was outside. But my phone buzzed again. I noticed you earlier than that.